Hello, thank you for having me. I didn't make fun of you, but I'll let that be. Um, being
Okay.
I'm going like last, all of the ladies had wonderful responses that connected to mine. So I guess I'll just say our intuitiveness. So from our bodies, our minds. So I think it's intuitive that our bodies create the breast milk, or we know the cries of our children. We know which one means hungry, sleepy, how we can tell how our husbands or our partners are feeling. We can walk into a room and just kind of like know what's going on. Typically, not to shoot at the men, but sometimes things go over their head and we're like, you didn't notice that, and it's just naturally because we're women. It's honestly a gift from God. And I think that's why Eve was given to Adam, because there's a sense of intuitiveness that a woman has, that is very necessary in life. So, yeah.
That's what's up. Well, I appreciate y'all being here. I'm going to start with the very first question, then we'll transition to get to the point of the meat of the topic. But as you all know, when it comes to men and wanting to be, I guess, or known as the leader, there are some things that come with that particular job description, if you will, right? So I want to talk about, is it controlling versus covering? And I got this question from shout out to Chicago Rilla, who was having this conversation in a Facebook group and trying to find out, like, how do women see it as what the difference between controlling and versus covering, right? And we'll start with some people that probably have covered the topic before. We'll start with Miss Lady Di, and then you'll choose who goes next.
Okay, so and this is controlling from a man, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think just the word in general, some people get triggered by it because everybody has some type of control, whether it's taking control of, let's say, simple things like cooking, or taking control of paying bills. You have control over something. It's just, I look at it as based on what you're good at or what works best for your household. So I think that we just have to stop looking at the word as being something negative and look at it in a positive way. Figure out what you and your spouse or whoever that you're with has something to offer, and then you guys control that situation. Can somebody suggest an opinion on the situation? Sure. But if you're the best at it, then you should be the one to have the final say in that space. Um, so that's what I have on this for now.
All right, thank you. Who you got going next?
Mistaken.
You're on mute. You're still on mute, Mistaken.
Okay, here we go. I had hit something and then my screen
It's,
went
it's
wonky, so I couldn't
okay.
find where I was
No
at.
worries.
Um, I think the difference has a lot to do with intent, because I think sometimes those things can look the same, like, or overlap in some way, but I think the intent is what makes the difference. So I think that, like, the idea behind you said the difference between controlling and covering. I would say covering is along the lines of protection, right? And so I think with the intent, typically when it is coming from a level of care, of saying why I don't need you to do this or want you to do this, and it's coming from a level of care to safeguard, you, I think that's covering. But when I think is controlling is when it really has nothing to do with the person necessarily. A level of care is more along the lines of your ego, or just wanting things to be a certain way because that's what you prefer, as opposed to it really being something that's going to be negatively impact you, or your significant other. So I think it's the intent that makes the difference.
Okay.
I am going to go with Bethany.
Thank you. The difference, to piggyback off Miss Taken, I think with controlling, I would say the intent is about an ego stroke and it's no rhyme or reason. It's just because I said so. I think with covering is a sense of protection. And when my husband is trying to cover me, he gives a valid reason that is not stroking his ego, and he can give me biblical reasoning, he can give me just logical reasoning. Being a man, he can see things that I don't see, and as a wife I respect that and appreciate it, and we need that.
That's what's up. Thank you.
Next up, Kendra.
Y'all caught me yelling at the dogs. Okay. I think one is respectful and the other is disrespect. And it really is that simple. And you know how it feels when you feel like you're being respected and how you feel when you feel disrespected. So when someone is controlling you, you lose a sense of yourself. You're shaken. You don't feel right. When someone is covering you, you're like, okay, this feels nice. Like I feel protected. I feel like, this person is caring about my well-being. So we all know the difference. Like you feel it when someone's being controlling, that it hurts, and you feel pain. When someone is covering you, you feel protected. And let's go to Tamia.
Thank you. I completely agree. The difference between control, I love how you said it, Kendra. It's like safety and then just straight up not feeling protected or safe at all. I feel like a sense of, just to give an example, because I agree with what the ladies have said so far, it's just to be controlled, it's as though like you have no voice. Or it's like you're not being considered, and like it's been mentioned, an ego is attached to it. So I know I can get you to do something, so I'm just going to tell you to do it, as opposed to I see this is best fit for us. So I'm covering you, and I think this is the best option. With control, I don't see inclusion. So while we are women, I mean, I'm married, so there's inclusion in that. So while my husband is leading, I still feel like he's thinking of me, as opposed to from a controlling sense, it's like this is what goes, and it doesn't matter what you think. Sometimes that's the case in marriage, but delivery is very important, and it still will give that sense of I'm covering you. I'm making a decision that's the best for us, as opposed to honestly, I don't care what you think, and I'm going with what I think is best. I'm gonna go with, let me see, I don't have my glasses on. Alicia.
I agree with what all the ladies have said. Controlling is you feel like someone, or I guess it would be maybe your spouse or your partner in this situation, is taking away your freedom, taking away your free will. Because if it's a situation where they're covering you or protecting you or they care, that is something that you can feel and you will lean into that. You don't feel like you're trying to, parent me or monitor me. So you definitely can tell the difference. And if you're in a situation where somebody is trying to control you, it's more than likely going to happen more than once, or a regular occurrence. Jamie.
Thanks. I'm sorry. It takes a minute for that thing to unmute, but I don't think I have too much to add or disagree with. I think everybody said, it's either respect or disrespect. Or okay, does anybody have an example though, like a for instance type situation that we can discuss? Like, okay,
Oh,
all right,
yeah,
all right.
absolutely. I was going to transition into a question. Hey, if you know me,
Okay.
then you know.
All right. So, like, say for instance, one of the big topics that come up a lot of times when you get into a relationship or a marriage is, should I have a friend of the opposite sex? Okay. Now, say your husband or your man goes, I don't want you to be friends with your best friend no more. He's not your best friend. He been waiting in the wings to be your man. I don't trust him. Okay. But he has a female best friend that he don't want to let go. He gonna tell you to let your best friend go. That's controlling, but he want to keep his best friend, or he keeps the best friend hidden. That's controlling. Now, if we're going to talk about a covering situation, right, and we're in a relationship and we're both saying, okay, like if you say that about my best friend, then I had to think that about you being best friends with this woman as well, right? Then it sounds like we both need to make a compromising decision to say, we're going to be each other's best friends, and both of these people are going to have to go. Does that make sense? Like, I think that's the way I've been put in that situation before. That's all I could give y'all. So I'm just saying.
Oh no, that's perfect. I mean, we had that conversation, typically on Monday nights, some similar to that. And then my transition question was right on point with what you were talking about. I mean, should your man be able to tell you what to wear? Now, I asked this question last week. To the gentleman about, should you be able to tell your wife or your woman how she should dress? And then they have their answer, obviously. And then my follow-up question was, what if they choose not to do what it is that you're asking? So you can go check that out and see what they said, right? So we're going to start with, let's say, should your man be able to tell you what to wear? Tamia, we'll start with you, and then you choose who goes next.
Oh, you saw my face. I do think that your partner should be able to have a say in what you should wear. Again, we go to the controlling and the covering. So if it's something, honestly, if you're a wife, you should be modest. So if there's something you thought it was real cute, you get dressed and then your husband's like, maybe not to this event. I think you should honor that. I think that you should respect that. If there was something that he was in and we felt a type of way, I feel like we would want him to honor that. So I think he definitely should have, and men should be able to tell you what to wear, but that I think it's conditional. So if that is your husband, if that is a partner that you trust, if that is a respectable man that you see, he respects women, he holds, he has mannerisms to him that you can tell he's not just trying to control you. He's trying to protect you and make sure you're presented well, because you're also an example of him, especially if you're his wife. Then I don't see a problem in that. But if this is a man that's just like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like to see you in green. Like, well, I think that gets a little different. But I'm going to go with Lady. I want to hear your thoughts.
Lady Di?
Okay.
Yes, Lady Di. Sorry.
Hi, Tamia. So to the last part you said, if a man says he doesn't want you wearing green, well, if I don't like a color that my husband wear, I'm gonna tell him. I'm like, hey, that color don't fit you. So you could wear it, but I don't really like it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna force him to take it off unless it's like really ugly. Then I'm gonna be like, yeah, you got to take that off. But see, it's all about honesty. You just sharing your opinion, you're sharing your insight, and you expect them to kind of listen to your influence and kind of make a decision. I don't think my husband will wear a color that I don't like because he know I'm looking at him like, yeah, no. So that part was kind of funny, but also to this question, it's kind of like, my thing is, why are women marrying men who are controlling in a bad way? You got to know when you get married to this man, no matter what he's telling you, because you already trusted him because you said yes, then everything that he says, unless he is on some drugs, everything that he says should be yes. So if he said, I don't want you to wear this, it don't even matter what his thoughts is because you should trust that he is, I guess, covering you. If you want to know his thoughts, sure, you could ask him later, but we ain't got time for that. We got to go, take that off, put it on. So I'm looking at it in that way, like you got to respect your man. Because if you agree to be married to him, you agree to him to be the provider and that covering. So therefore, it should just be a respect across the board. Because if not, it's just going to be so-called combative. Like you're just always going to want to go back and forth. And no one wants to have like that mood where I can't tell you how I feel, because that's what's going to start happening. I can't tell you how I feel. I can't tell you anything because you're going to get mad and all of this other stuff. Like we got to keep the peace with ourselves first and with him, because if we're not peaceful, then we're gonna start disrupting everything. So that's my entire take on that question.
That's what's up. Who you got going next?
Bethany.
Thanks. Should your man be able to tell you what to wear? Absolutely. Especially if that's your husband. God has, in his divine plan, put him as head of household, head over you, head over the children. Let it go. Now, is everything in reason? Hopefully so. For example, my husband tells me, don't go out in these streets with my workout pants on, workout leggings on, especially if I don't have a top long enough to cover up this tail. I respect it. When I'm in the house, get my workouts on, whatever, sometimes I'm like, I'm throwing this on. I'm about to go drop the kids off or pick the kids up from school. But for him, he's like, hey, anything could happen. You may have to make a stop. And we don't need you walking around our local Kroger with your leggings on. So I respect it. When we had contractors in the house, I wasn't walking around with leggings on. It's the covering aspect. We don't need no man looking at my wife like that. I don't need to go off on no man for looking at my wife like that. Let's not cause a situation to happen that's unnecessary. For me, my husband's older than me. So when we first got married, he had his friends and we would go out to dinner with his friends. Well, his friends' wives are older than me. I'm young and fabulous. I'm not going to dinner in flats. I'm wearing my 4-inch pumps after 5. He was like, you're overdressed. I'm like, well, no, babe, this is how I dress. It's not, it was still modest, but I'm like, you married a younger woman, so you married me because I look like this and I'm gonna carry on as such. And he was like, I get it. It wasn't rude, it wasn't disrespectful, but he had to realize I'm not your 50-year-old friends' wives. There's a 21-year old age difference between us. So it was a big deal. And I'm just like, I'm not so and so. So I'm going to dress according to my age, but still be respectful because I do hold you in, you're a standard. You're still, a respectable man. So that's just a conversation that needs to be had respectfully and, just see where the chips fall. But, do our husband still want us to look sexy when we go out? Sure. But I think there's a very fine line with a little sex appeal, a little class, give a little leg here and there. But, don't make a scene, turn heads, but you want your husband head to turn, not everybody else's technically.
I wanted to say something to that, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Like when I look at what you said, sound good, but it's like you look good. Them heads gonna turn anyway, don't you think?
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's funny because my husband, we work. He's in video production, and I work with him sometimes. Well, he still has a male dominant crew. And some people know I'm his wife, some people don't. By now, everybody knows that's his wife, whatever. But one guy didn't. And he was looking at my husband like, hey, who's that? He was like, dude, that's my wife. And it kind of the dude was young. That was his first time working with us. He didn't know. And I don't wear like I'm the wife. I don't do that because I want people to be honest and real around us, but still, have respect. And my husband laughed it off. It wasn't a big deal, but it's just one of those things like, I'm the boss's wife. So I, make sure I'm up to par with things. It's just what it is. It comes with the territory. Next up, who picked me? Alicia.
I think your husband should definitely have a say in what you wear, but I think there should be some kind of understanding, you know? So if I know that I'm married to a man that is not controlling and he loves to see me dress sexy, it's kind of rare that we're going to have an issue with something that, you know, I put on, just me personally. So if he were to say something about, hey, you know what, I like what you're wearing, but maybe not to this, you know, particular event, or maybe not while you're going to this place, 100% I'm going to respect that and I'm going to find something else to wear. But definitely if it's a spouse, or, you know, like all the time they're trying to basically pick your clothes like you're, you know, in first grade or second grade, no. And I'm going to go with Jamie again. Jamie, did you go?
No, I didn't go. Okay, so I'm going to give a scenario, and I think I understand the question. I do agree that your husband, or, you know, significant other that's going to be your husband, should have a say so in your clothing. And I agree with Alicia when she said it should be like discussed in the beginning or understood. But let's give a scenario of a guy gets with a girl who dresses promiscuous. Okay. And he likes her, he gets with her, and then he wants to change her. Now, he had met her in them clothes. Now, this is what she has. And now you want to tell her to stop being the very person that you said you liked, because now you don't want your homeboys looking at her, or now you don't want, you know, her to do the Instagram pics with her booty out, or now you don't want to do that. Now, to me, that's being controlling, because if she wanted to dress modest or be considered to be a modest wife, she would have done that from the get-go. You get what I'm saying? So now you're controlling this person, and then you're going to give them an ultimatum. You're going to be like, either you change that or we're not going nowhere, or you doing this or we're not doing that. So I don't know, if you wanted to cover her, then that should be like, you should have did that in the dating scene and said like, hey babe, you know what I'm saying, I think I was attracted to you because you was dressed like a hoe, but I want to take you out, I want to save you. Do you want to be saved? You feel me?
Well, the phone says she don't
He
want to
took
be
you out
saved.
the hood, put some clothes on.
Can I comment? Can I comment on that? Okay. So I'm glad you said that at the end, because there could be a circumstance that he saw her, she's attractive, because if you're beautiful, you're beautiful. You know, like regardless, your husband is going to be sexually attracted to you. Now, whether you showed that, you know, in the bedroom, or you were outside and you loved your body and you, girl, do you. But I was going to say, what if that man then finds her more worthy of how she is presenting herself, and then says, hey, like, I did find you this, because that's honestly the goal with your spouse. Find somebody who makes you better. So what if he did find her, and yes, she was out there, she was hoeing a little bit, but he wants to, in a covering way, of course not, it shouldn't, because you said that, like, you know, black and white, like it shouldn't just be a, okay, now we're married, like it's done. Everybody needs to understand that people do things in a process. So hopefully the scenario you mentioned at the end, hopefully it would have been a matter of, yes, I did meet you this way. Yes, I truly do think that you are beautiful. We have been dating. I do want to pursue something further with you. Would you consider changing the way that you present yourself in reference to becoming exclusively mine? Because if you're out this way, I would want a woman that represents, like, you know, I don't want it to look like you're out in the open. I think that she would be much more accepting of that. But if it is somebody who's like, you know, enables it, and then gets married and is like, oh, cut this off. Like, you can't do that. I'm done with you. That's Delulu. That's crazy. But I would hope that it's a circumstance of, because that could happen. Like, that really could happen. And that's a blessing for her as well, because sometimes we don't really see how we're not, because it doesn't even have to do with her mindset. She could honestly know her worth And that's probably why she's so confident to do that, in her sense, in her view. But we have to transition. We go through phases of our lives. So hopefully when she meets somebody that can be her husband, maybe she'll even not want to do that, or she'll understand that this new area of my life requires this level of modesty. But if he's like egging it on and, oh, that girl, that looks good, and now you're around his friends and he's moving funny and he's mad at you because the outfit you wore, that's that controlling outside of the covering. So I love that. I love that scenario that you gave.
I have a story. There is someone I know that actually happened to, Jamie. Actually happened to, she would wear like really tight clothes, and she had like a really big butt. Like it was crazy. But when they were getting more serious, like he's like, I want to marry you, then he started to say, hey, I don't want you wearing that. But what caused it was his parents. His parents was like, this is not appropriate. You shouldn't marry her, dressed like that. You need to, try to see if she can change. This is not, appropriate for the family. Like if I was to take her to a family event, he has a large family. You already know what your grandma's going to say, your grandfather. So, you never know what these men, what type of conversations they're having. Like I wasn't expecting to hear that, but that was actually the situation. And then his mother didn't dress like that either. So, what men are attracted to is what they attracted to, but some stuff does change. Controlling will be if he kept telling her what to wear and he didn't want to marry her, then it's kind of like, well, what are you doing? But if he wants to marry her, that's how you know the man is serious. So that's why I would say I don't want to say it's control.
Or he tells her what to wear and then still likes pics of women that wear exactly what he tells her not to. I think that as a form of controlling too is like, you don't want me to do this, but now you're liking every pic of women that wear this. What is it? What are we doing? You get what I'm saying? Like we got to be consistent in the way we approach situations if we're going to be accountable all the way around. But I agree with you.
Who did you have going next, Miss Jamie?
Did Kendra go?
No, she hasn't went yet.
Okay.
So I'm gonna keep it all real. I am the woman who used to wear things that I always felt like I dressed pretty classy. I was like, okay, I have a nice little cute shape, but I don't want to do too much. I'm sitting there like, Sierra on the red carpet with a whole see-through dress on. I would never do that. But I'll wear something low cut or my back out or something like that. And I thought it was fine. And then I met Humble Dad, who was like, absolutely not. So I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not like them, but I have style. Like, I told him today, like literally like right before we got on here, he was like, pull your shirt up. And I was like, I can't help it.
Keep it 100.
I can't help it. But so sometimes I think that he's overreacting, because I'm like, there's nothing wrong with what I have on. Like, you just tripping. That's just not what you want to see me in, so I'm having to learn the difference between the controlling and covering too. Like, I know that he is not controlling me and I trust his impact, but I'm like, I like how I look. I don't want to like change everything about myself because I'm with you. But at the same time, I have to respect his thought process as, you go out, you're a representation of me and our family. And, I just don't want, the wrong person looking at you and thinking that you're one way. So I am still learning. I am still a newlywed. Okay. I am still learning how to take that criticism. Cause I was like, look, I'm 40. Like when we got married, I was 41. I don't need you to tell me how to dress. I know how to conduct myself as a woman. I am a pillar in the community. So like I'm having to learn how to like, take what he's saying and applying it in a way that is, going to make me look good in his eyes. And as well, I still feel like myself. So we're still learning. We're still figuring that out. You shady for putting this question on here though, babe. I'm just saying.
Well, it only seems shady to those that feel they are being shaded. You know what I'm saying? It's the same question I asked the men. Literally, if you last Monday, I asked the exact same question. So I was like, okay, I didn't know that I was going to have a conversation with you. I had already had the question written down in my notes. You know what I'm saying? Who you got going next?
Who's left? Mistaken. Have you gone? Okay. Unmute yourself.
Let's go, Professor.
Now, part of me is I'm big on words. I think words have meaning. So when I hear the word tell, for me, I'm just saying me, my personality. I don't want to say trigger because it's not that serious, but the way that I interpret it is more like a child. You tell a child what to do, meaning that they have no say so or response in what is being asked, right? So I definitely feel like my husband can request, um, you know, um, in regards to me changing what I have on or whatever. And I would respect him enough to make that change, right? So I don't have a issue with that. The only thing is in regards to just personal preference. And I don't mean personal preference and like if I have on something too tight, he doesn't want me to wear, or I mean along the lines of something more simple like um, that's just not my cup of tea. Like I don't like that color, something like that. I would get his opinion on that. But if he's just like, I ain't really feeling it, but I really like it. And it's not like he has a problem with the outfit being like too low cut or too tight or something like that, then I will wear it anyway because it's more of a personal thing. I don't like that color. But again, if it's from the covering aspect of like, nah, I just think that's a little too inappropriate. Like, I think it's your obligation as a wife to respect that decision.
I got a question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
So the last
You have a question for the panel or somebody specific?
No, mistaken.
Okay.
The last part you said, so if he, expresses he doesn't like it for his personal reason, I'm just asking, why don't you consider that? Because that's his personal reason, which should be considered too, you think?
Not that it shouldn't be considered, but I do think it's like putting it out there. I guess kind of like the same thing of like, if you want brown rice or black rice or something like that, like, is it going to be something that would hinder us in any way? So because he doesn't like green, but I really like the way the outfit looks, that's not going to be an impact on our marriage. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I was like, okay, well, yeah, I like the way that, this color green look on me or whatever. That's not going to make or break us, and he's not going to have a big issue with it. For him, he just knows a personal preference. The same thing, like back and forth. Like I may say something I don't particularly care. Like you like these sneakers? Like he likes sneakers. And I'm like, they're all right. Like, and he's like, yo, I think these are hot. You know what I'm saying? And then he'll just wear them anyway. I'm not gonna be upset because he wore them and be like the whole day, like, oh, the sneakers are so ugly. It's just like an opinion, and I give him feedback, he gives me feedback, but is not a level of any kind of disrespect.
So it's more like an opinion. You're talking about like those opinion type conversations.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a question or want to add something before we transition? How y'all feeling? Y'all doing okay? Yeah. All right, good. I'm putting on my teacher hat a little bit. I'm listening to some of the things that y'all saying. It's very interesting how y'all break down controlling versus covering. If he is the leader, don't leaders have control? There has been a leader before being in a marriage and being like, if I like your boss don't necessarily say, could you go collect those papers for me? No, your boss says, I need you to go do this. Okay? Your boss literally tells you what to do, but some of y'all are saying, well, I wouldn't want my husband to tell me, I would want him to kind of consider my feelings, so to speak. Go ahead. You came off mute. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as leadership goes, in every situation that I've been in where there was a leader, there was a respect. It wasn't a you do what I say type thing. It was ask a question, and they also led by example, and being very considerate of the people that they were leading. So it was. I haven't experienced the do what I do as I say, type of atmosphere other than when I was growing up with my parents. So since I've been an adult, I kind of expect people to a leader to be respectful in request, and you respect your leadership and you understand their role as a leader, so you tend to do that. But if your leader is requesting you to do something that is unfitting or incorrect or not up to policy, I do feel like even as a subordinate, you still have the right to question that or say, well, that's not what we discussed, or that's not the way that is supposed to go, and it's a discussion. It's not a you do what I say and I just run and do it. I don't feel like that's the role of a good leader, in my opinion.
Go ahead, Tamia.
I was gonna say the same exact thing. I've been in manager positions, and I believe in being a servant leader, and I know that the most efficient environment is the one where everyone can feel safe to feel heard or express themselves, or just safe, period. All of the environments, I thankfully have not been in an environment where, like Miss Kendra, where it's been like, go do this, do that. I've thankfully not been in one like that. If I was, the manager probably it has a lack of awareness, and it's probably not that much of an efficient work environment in terms of the authenticity of how comfortable everybody feels. So that is the same thing I believe for a marriage. If you are that way in your marriage, where it's just like do this, do that, do it now, I'm pretty sure that unless that wife just like that's how she functions, there may be a lack of comfort to verbalize how you feel or have a question or discuss anything. There, even if you're a leader, yes, there is a sense of control. Your husband has a sense of control. But again, like Miss Kendra was saying, it's like there's a respect. So it's like when you bring forth a sense of direction, I'm not looking at you like you can't tell me what to do. There's a sense of respect where I'm hearing what you're saying, and you know that I'll more than likely do it. If there's a question, I know I can ask it. So I believe that yes, leaders do have control, but then they're also servant leaders, so they don't abuse their control or you know what I'm saying. But even humble dad, like you've been my manager, I've never had you tell me like, we need this done, get this done. No, it's simply been like, hey, these are our goals. Does everybody understand that? Is there anything in the way of us getting that done? What do you think? You look confused. Do you have anything to, you have anything to say? So even for yourself, if there's somebody, I don't know, yeah.
I was just asking. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Miss Hagan. You had something you wanted to
even
add?
with the boss example too. I know I just like sort of commented that you put up about somebody can't tell a Black woman nothing. I think in a work environment too, there is also a certain level of respect and decorum that occurs in the workplace, even from boss to their staff. If you have a boss that is like a I guess I'll use the word tell, but don't speak to you in a respectful manner. Now, I don't know how everybody's personality is, but for me personally, there would be a conversation. I don't have an issue. Now, I would be respectful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna be like, you ain't gonna tell me, of course not. But there would be a conversation in regards to the approach in which you requested me to do something, especially if it's not in my job description, right? So that's the other difference, is that when I take on this job, there's a job description. So I know exactly what your expectations are to begin with. So if there's something that you're asking me outside of that job description and I'm not confused or I don't feel comfortable with something, I think that's room for me to have a conversation with you to ask the purpose or what have you. I know I had a boss that asked me to do something that I knew was illegal. I wouldn't say necessarily illegal, but not morally correct. And that is not something that I'm gonna just do just because you're my boss. No, I don't feel comfortable doing this. I know this isn't ethical. And that was the conversation that I had. Now, if you want this done, I just will not put my name on it and I will not be the one to actually do the process. That's it. So that's not being disrespectful in any way. My boss asked me to do something and I declined. And I do think that sometimes you are respectful, you can be considerate of what the other person's saying, but it doesn't mean that you just have to go ahead and do it because they said do it, especially when you know it's not the right thing to do. You have to exercise a level of discernment.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not referring to those particular moments of where somebody's your husband or your manager is telling you to do something unethically. It's interesting that we go there. I mean, I think that's an obvious statement. Like, don't do something that's unethical. I'm referring to, because you all talked about respect, disrespect, caring, and ego. And so I was just simply saying that if the man is the leader, he does have a form. He has control, and if whether he tells you or asks you, if you're saying that you know and respect his authority, then it should sound like he's coming from a respectful place. Is what I'm saying, right? So whether you like it or not, like for example, if since I'm a person that is following Christ, Christ asked me to do a lot of things I don't want to do. Okay. Do I then say, well, you know what? I don't like that you told me to do it, so I'm not gonna do it? No, I'm out of pocket. So I'm saying the same thing as what I think I'm hearing is that no matter what he's asking, as long as you see that he's an authority, or if he tells you, you should do it because you said that he's your leader. Are y'all saying that that's not the case? It has to be determined by if you see him as being respectful or disrespectful is what's going to determine if you do it or not? Or am I missing that?
I wanted to respond and
Go
maybe
ahead.
we'll answer a little bit because everyone said a lot to your question.
Right.
And it's interesting. I've never ever in my life heard of a servant leader, because servant and leader are two different things. You serve somebody, which means you're doing what someone told you to do. A leader is just you're leading and you're telling people to do stuff that you want them to do. So I don't know how both of those go together. Now, being nice, okay, I think to me it says something about humble dad. Maybe he's just being nice. He understands that, especially for ladies, we're more emotional. He don't know you like that, so he's just not gonna be like, yeah, go do that, and then walk away. I think it's more of like he just respecting your emotions. And then I think of like chain restaurants. Like if you think about McDonald's versus Chick-fil-A, you think that the people at Chick-fil-A were just say, can you do this? Like if the boss talking to the employees, can you do this? Or they're saying, no, you need to do this because, and they give them these guidelines. Every time you go to Chick-fil-A, every person I ever heard says, my pleasure. I've never, ever went to a Chick-fil-A and they don't say that. That sounds like a direct demand that they must do these things. I don't think those are questions. I think that's just like, you need to go do that or else, right? And I think as a leader, that's kind of what's going on. You respect the organization, you respect the person, and then you will just do it because you know that the person or the organization is leading you into the right direction. If we're talking about people who are negative and you think you're about to follow their leadership, then you shouldn't be following them. Then that's different. That's a whole nother segment of the conversation. But we should only be talking about people who have great morals and stuff. And then also I wanted to say, like for me, I've never had a boss ask me anything. They just told me to do it. And that's just how it was. And it's been like that since I was young. Even in sports, I don't know how many people are in sports, or I used to be in sports and I used to dance. It was go do this, go run up, 10 flights of steps. It ain't no question. It's like, go and do this. You already know the purpose of it because you need to go and hit that dance move, or you need to go ahead and make that shot, or whatever the case is. So because you know the end goal, you do it. So like I said, these are all emotions. Now, I've learned this as I got older. It wasn't like I just came to this conclusion. But when I think of it in a collective, that's kind of what it is. It's like we're basing off what someone says off of our emotions, and now we're going to act on emotions versus you doing the action based off someone helping you or helping something. You're helping somebody. Is more of a demand. How they say it is how they say it. I've had all type of bosses, crazy as hell or nice, but hey, the job got to get done, right? So as far as your man though, you got to it's different. So your boss and then your man, you're with your man, you sleep at night with him. And then you got a boss that you ain't going to see that person outside of work, maybe not. So I would say you should have more respect for your husband. So that's all I have to say.
That's what's up, Alicia. I want to get Bethany, then Alicia, and then Jamie, and then we're going to transition into the next question. What you got, Bethany?
So I agree with Lady Di, but also when I think about my husband and I's relationship, he never had to demand or give me instruction because we sat down together and we had a plan. Like he physically had a plan, but he was able to communicate that with me. So the day-to-day operations of our house is never him telling me what to do because I already know what needs to be done. Does that make sense? So when you said the example about sports, I ran track. And so our coach, this is what we're doing today. Y'all have 12 400s. We're running 1 mile repeats. We kind of knew what we had to do. So it was a directive, but it wasn't constantly telling us what to do. You knew you get done with this, you got a 2-minute break, line up again. So it's never this, yes, it's a leadership. There's the coach. In my house, it's my husband. But when the plan is laid out, there's not demands being done on a day-to-day basis because you know how you're functioning, how you're running the household. So now, me and my husband been married for 8 years. We're on cruise control. It's a very comfortable state that we're in right now because we just know what needs to be done. So it's never this controlling cloud hovering over me like, oh, hubby woke up at 10 a.m. at 8 a.m. He tell me what to do, hubby. Like, no, I don't want to water it down to that and make it seem so. Marriage isn't like that. I hope people's marriages isn't like this controlling area of this space. You know what needs to be done. Y'all are a couple. Kids got to be picked up, dropped off, fed, bathed. House got to be kept up to a certain standard. Taxes got to get paid. Come on now.
For sure. Did Miss Alicia or Jamie, did y'all want to say anything to this particular point? Either one.
I got something. I think that, and I'm sorry, but I think when Lady Di kind of had said what Bethany reiterated was that there was an end goal. And so the whole time we were talking about leadership and jobs and role is, what is the role? Like, what is your role in your relationship? And if you understand your role, a true leader in the beginning of your relationship is going to tell you what the end goal is. So now we know we're working towards that, but we have to be honest. A lot of these relationships don't ever talk about a goal. The goal was to sleep with the person and they kind of liked them and then they started a relationship. There was never a discussion of what this is going to look like if we go any further. And so and then that discussion happens when people are displeased or they're mad or they there's a couple of misunderstandings, or his underwear is on the floor and he ain't picking it up, or he ain't washing the dishes, or he didn't seen this. And so there was never a goal or a clear understanding of what each other's roles were. And so that's where the confusion comes in, or the wanting to hold each other accountable or not clear understanding, or he's being controlling. He want me to clean up everything, but he don't want to do nothing. Do you see what I'm saying? Because there was never an end goal. We just started sleeping together, and then we just happened to really like it, and so now we married, and we don't know what that looks like. You know what I'm saying? We didn't discuss what that was going to look like. That's a lot of relationships. A lot. We're just going to emulate what mom and dad showed us in our own households, and we don't even know if our partner knows what that looked like.
That's a solid point. Alicia, did you want to add to this at all?
I think it was a lot said.
It was a lot said.
Original question. I mean, I do agree that there has to be some level of control in your household. But I think that's different than being controlling. A level of control, my husband is definitely he's the head of our household. He is. But that does not mean that he tells me what to do, or he tells me what to do all the time. There's consideration and there's respect on both ends. Like, we respect each other highly. So sometimes I might have to tell him what to do, or I might have to advise him on something, and vice versa. It's more of a teamwork. But when it comes to, hey, a decision needs to be made, what's the final decision? It's gonna be my husband's every time. So
that's what's up. So I wanted to transition to, because I respect everybody's time. This is a similar question that I asked the guys last week. And we don't have to, pick on anybody to say you can go next. This is just a point of where we're having a dialogue. And you're definitely welcome to ask a question or follow up and things of that nature, similar to what you've already done. And the question that I asked last week was, what percentage of women do you believe accept accountability? What percentage of women do you believe accept accountability? So before you begin to say what it is, right, I just want everybody to give a number, right? And then we'll come back and then you can explain why you say that is your number. Okay, so we'll start with, I'll give you some think time, okay, like they do in the classroom, give you some think time. All right, then we're going to start with you, Miss Kendra. What percentage do you say?
Y'all ain't gonna like my answer. I would say less than 10%.
I bet. Miss Alicia, what you got? What's your percentage?
I was going to at least give 50.
Okay, Lady Di.
0.
Dang. Jamie.
Mine's is the same as Kendra. It's 10%. Like I say, less than 10%.
Okay. All right, cool. You get to explain in a moment. Tamia.
Ask it one more time.
I will. Tamia, what you got?
I believe less than 10% of women take accountability.
The question is, what percentage of women do you believe accept accountability? And just give a number, and then we'll go back, and the person can explain their number.
20.
Okay. Last week, the number that Ricky gave worldwide was 4%. Right? If you know Ricky, you know Ricky, right? He gave 4%. And I'll tell you what Prototype said here later. All right. So who would like to?
Please don't. We don't need to repeat that.
You go watch it, because it was a very interesting take. So who would like to explain their number? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Taken.
I truly believe in the 80-20 rule, just in general. So that's where my number came from. And it just, so far, just life, I've seen that reflected in so many different ways when it comes to just any situation that I think about. So that's where my 20% came from that 80-20 rule.
All right, anybody? Who's next?
I'll go. I believe it's under 10%. And we've had conversations like this on your podcast on Mondays, Humble Dad. But for one, I'm going to take it down the line. For one, as women, naturally, when we grow up, we are a little coddled. Everybody's upbringing is different, but more than likely, when you get in trouble, it may have been delivered to you a bit differently, or in a softer sense, whether it was outside of your household or inside of your household. So automatically, there is kind of like this princess complex, or this like, I can get in trouble, but I'm a girl kind of situation. So you're taking accountability, but also not to the extent of maybe when your brother or your cousin or a male counterpart has gotten in trouble. It's much more straightforward and harsh. Now, granted, my brain, I was told when I was wrong, so I'm not saying that's me. But on a grand scheme, if we're talking in general, we have a softer approach as we grow older. Um, then particularly, I mean, predominantly we're Black here. Black women have very strong exteriors where we personally, not that we are unaware of ourselves, but it takes a lot for us to sit down and be like, I'm entirely wrong. So we may jump to explain our perspective first, or this is why I did what I did, or this is why I felt XYZ, or made this certain decision, as opposed to just listening and saying, okay, yeah, I was wrong. Because a lot of our lives, we get told we're wrong in circumstances where we knew we weren't. So now it's kind of hard to decipher, okay, where I need to just completely accept accountability for the circumstance. Um, and honestly, just as a woman, we are very emotionally driven. So a lot of the times when we make decisions or we act on certain things, not all, there is logic, but more than likely our feelings lead things. And it's hard to take accountability. While accountability is a great thing to do, it is difficult and sometimes it can feel very uncomfortable. So, with emotions involved, you don't want to let that ego down. And you're kind of like, again, explaining the reasons to why you did what you did or why you stand where you stand, instead of just saying, I'm wrong. So, that's why I feel like it's less than 10% because it takes a high level of maturity and awareness. Usually, women can take accountability after they've experienced something really big or they have this big shift in their mindset. Before that, you're gonna hear about it. It's gonna be a little difficult. So I believe it takes a high level of maturity. And these days, honestly, it's a big lack of it. And there's not much guidance on, especially in my age group. I'm in my 20s, my mid 20s. There's not many examples of women taking accountability, um, or representing themselves well. So yeah.
I got you. Who else wants to? I would like to hear Miss Alicia because she said 50%, and then Lady Di, you hit him with the zero. So, I mean, y'all can go in whatever order y'all want to, but that was interesting.
I
Which
mean,
one y'all? Okay, go ahead.
I said 50% just because I feel it's a toss up. I think that um once women reach a certain age, if they're growing and maturing, or like Tamia said, you have certain experiences that, okay, you reach a point in your life that it's like, I did this. Yeah, I did it. Um, I'm surprised by the 10% and the 4%, but maybe it's because I've kind of paid attention to my own journey. I just turned 40 a few months ago. So I feel like as far as like taking accountability has been something that I just had to learn. Yeah, you go through a period where you're gonna explain it or you have an explanation for something, but then it's just like, you know what? Yeah, I did it, or I didn't do this. So I think at a certain age and maturity level, I think women do. I would give women a little more credit than 10% or under 10%.
Okay, that's what's up, Lady Di. You went with zero. Talk to us.
So, I mean, I'm a lady too. So I'm answering for myself and people that I've seen. I say zero because what Tamia said, she hit it on the nail. Before you even accept anything somebody said, you got to explain. You got to defend yourself. Like, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's a natural thing that happens in our brain, but it's like, wait, I ain't do nothing. Hold on. So that's why I say zero. Now, after they've heard the critique or whatever it is, then I would say 20% of women accept the accountability after they've heard what has been said. And those 20% that I'm talking about are the ones who are married. So that's it.
Dang. Okay. Miss Jamie, did you give a number? You said 10%. Did you want to explain your 10%?
I mean, no, because I haven't had a friend. If you want me to be honest, I haven't had a female friend that
I
I
always
know
want you to be honest.
that has taken accountability. Now, for me, like I'm going to be probably doing it and telling you I'm doing it while I'm doing it. If so, I take accountability at the forefront. I'm like, I'm about to go through your phone, or I'm about to do this, or I'm going to do this. And yes, I enjoyed it. And we may need to call the police because I might hurt you. So I've just kind of always I've called the police on myself. Like I've called the police on myself. So and that's just because I would prefer at the forefront to have all guards, you know what I'm saying? Just all safety for everybody. Just because we do have emotional moments as women. And, you know, I've been in some weird situations, but that's just me. And so, like, if I've had pointed out or had a conversation with a female friend and said, hey, you did me wrong here. It's never been that. It's always been like, what are you talking about? I don't understand what you're saying to me right now. And I'm like, I don't understand how you don't understand what we're talking about. I mean, and then you show them. So I do understand how men get frustrated because I've had to do the same thing. Like I've been like, okay, so we just not friends. But I also have to say that probably the reason why I am the way this is, like I am, is I grew up in a house with boys. And so they didn't leave any room for me to do the girl. Does that make sense? It was like, you're going to own it. Own how you feel. Or like, we're going to point it out. So I just did. I just kind of grew up a little bit more reality, I guess I would say. We didn't get to play
reality though. Reality. Because
I mean,
based on what Tamia said, reality is that women are not oftentimes having to be held accountable. So based on that means that it was almost an anomaly type of situation.
Okay, well, I lived in a house where they made a real reality. They made me own up to who I was or what I was doing at the time. I mean, I appreciate it now. I did not appreciate it then because, you know, like I look at other women and I'm like, dang, she could cry on the drop of a dime and manipulate this whole situation. And I can't even do that. Like I have to like really take responsibility for this, even if I don't want to. Like I want to play victim today. Can I play victim today?
You're not disappointed in that, are you? You're not disappointed. Don't be disappointed in that you can't play the victim.
I mean, but it looks like it works for everybody else, and I'm just being honest. Like it looks like it works. I want to try it, not to be, you know. But I'm just telling my truth is the way I'm looking at it. Is
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely, no doubt. Miss Taken, go ahead.
So with the explanation part, like I agree with Lady Di on the listening first and then explaining, because I was going to say something like, for me, on either end, when there is a point in which there needs to be accountability, either on my husband's side or my side, I want to hear the why behind it, only because sometimes it's about understanding your partner's thinking. Because if you just have me take accountability and just listen and be like, okay, I won't do it, is a little more difficult to generalize certain things, because you'll just look for that same situation and then you know, okay, when this happened, I respond this way, as opposed to hearing the why behind, why did you make this decision, or why did you do what you do? So for me, the understanding of why you did what you did is just as important as the accountability, because now I'm beginning to understand your thinking. So now the conversation can shift from whatever it is to the making sure you understand why the thinking process may have been a little, off. So now you can generalize it to other like novel situations. So I think the understanding of why is just as important.
Yeah,
I
I
definitely agree with
concur.
that. Yeah.
I want to give my little 2 cents on the 10% that I gave. I gave it a 10% because in general, it is hard to self-reflect. It's even harder when you are known as being the weaker vessel. And so people are going to continue to cater to you, even when you know you're wrong. I've heard countless of women, even friends, know they're wrong and be like, I'm not going to apologize. You know, I don't know where everyone is from, but we just had a situation here in Dallas where Keith Lee came to Dallas. And I don't know if y'all know who Keith Lee is, but he's a food critic. He came to Dallas and he went to a food truck. He tipped the lady $4,000 and said, hey, give this person $1,000, give this person $1,000. She took it upon herself to keep all the money. So people started blasting her. Well, the girl who she was supposed to be giving $1,000 to got online and blasted her about not giving them the money. And because she didn't feel like they deserved the money because they don't really actually work with her, she was like, I'm not going to give you the money. Keith Lee's going to have to tell me to give y'all the money. But he already told her. So then Keith Lee has to come back and tell her, I told you to give them the money, you know? So then she offered the money up. But she had to get blasted for 2 to 3 days before she offered the money to the people that he originally said to give it to. And what I saw in the comments was, she's not taking accountability. She's not taking accountability. She's not taking accountability. And she wasn't. And I see that regularly with my mom, with different women in my family, friends, just women I don't even know, co-workers, or, you know, people that I work with, my clients. I listen to people talk, you know, I'm a hairstylist. I listen to people talk all day long and they tell me stuff that they're going through or whatever. And rarely do I see them actually own their part. No one should have to explain to you why they think that you're wrong about something. Someone should be able to point out something that they saw that you did, or you should know. Like I say it all the time. I'm not going to keep on explaining to grown people what they did because they know what they did. You know, if I know what I've done, you know what you did. You know when you shading somebody. You know when you didn't do what you said you was going to do. Nobody's memory is that bad where you forgot like that. Like, stop it, you know. And then when you do say something to someone, to a woman, the first thing is someone's going to get an attitude because they feel like they are beyond reproach. So when someone tells you, you hurt my feelings, if your first inkling is to get an attitude, that's why a lot of friendships don't work out when someone tells you that you're wrong, or they tell you that they didn't like something that you did, because the first thing is to get an attitude. Whereas with me, if I hurt somebody that I care about, or even if I hurt a stranger on the street and they were like I used to do customer service back in the day. And one day I wasn't feeling it. And a lady says to me, are you okay? You being real cold towards me, you know, on the phone. She can feel like that I didn't want to be there, pretty much. And it made me feel really, really bad because this woman didn't do nothing to me. And she's telling me that how my attitude was affecting her and affecting her transaction. And it made me think about like how I, you know, operate. I've had many things that's happened to me over in life that has made me really humble myself and made me look at my behavior. It makes me self-reflect. It's been times that I've told humble dad I was wrong, and he don't even have to tell me. He hadn't even told me. And I'm like, I was wrong for that. I shouldn't have said that to you. And he's like, shocked, you know, that I'm the one that's bringing it to his attention. Because like I said, people know when they're wrong. People know when they're wrong. They just don't want you to say nothing about it. They want to operate in their wrongness. They wanted to give it some space and time. They busy. And then they want to come around you again and act like nothing happened. And it's like, no, we ain't gonna keep doing that. We're going to start calling people out for the stuff that they do. And if it work out, cool. And if it don't work out, cool. But you're going to know. We got to stop being silent.
That's what's up. I'm gonna get to the reason I don't have a percentage, but it's definitely low. When I brought this conversation to I'm a math coordinator, so to speak, where I teach teachers and coach teachers and teach students, right? And so I'm in this group of women, and I'm the only male in there, and all of them are Black women. And so I told them about the podcast and how it was doing. And then I told them about the topic that I was going to be doing today. I said, we're going to be talking about how to hold women accountable. The first thing they said, what do you think it was, Miss Tate? When y'all going to talk about the men? I said, I'm telling you the topic that I'm having on Sunday, and you can't even say if that's a good topic or not, or it's a bad topic. That's interesting. The first response from 3 or 4 women were like, why y'all not talking about the men? I was like, okay. So y'all not even gonna do this. And then every time they had a conversation about relationships, it was always the men's fault that they didn't have a man. You know, when we know, we always have to self-reflect, whether you're a man or a woman. But that I'm just telling you, I've worked with so many women as a teacher and an educator. It's rare that I see, you know, like I said, I told Kendra, I was like, this is rare. I mean, you holding yourself accountable. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I gave you that face, right? So how this is the next question. We as far as time is concerned, I have 2 more questions, but depending on how Pentecostal y'all get, determines if we're gonna ask the next question. Okay, all right. So where was it? What is the value in women being held accountable? What is the value in women being held accountable?
It helps you heal. It helps you heal when you can own your part. In every relationship, it takes 2. You know, the dissolution of any relationship involves 2. You know, it's not just one person. If you can own your stuff, if you can admit what you did to add to the conflict, that helps you move on. It helps you get to a different place in life where you're not holding on to, well, this person did me like this. You know, well, what did you do? You can't control what the other person did. What did you do? How did you handle it? How did you react? What did you do? You know, and so once you can own what you did, your part, it allows you to move on, and it allows you to heal from that situation.
I was gonna say, there's like Kendra's saying, there's so much growth and accountability. I feel like if you're not accountable, you're not even present with self. Like you don't even know who you are all the way if you are not accountable with yourself, because accountability, like Kendra was saying, it will expose how you're showing up in other relationships. So you may be walking around feeling like I'm the greatest friend, I'm the greatest mom, I'm the greatest sibling, I'm the greatest like sister. But because you lack accountability, it's almost like a slight sense of narcissism, because you think that you're being this great person, but because you lack accountability, you are not you're in another dimension, and you're not even fully aware of how you're viewed from someone else's lenses. So it's like if you cannot be accountable and you cannot receive, then you are stagnant. Honestly, you're the same person that you were last year or a month ago or when that situation happened. So I believe that there's so much growth and accountability because there's discomfort. If you're comfortable, you gotta shake something up. So because discomfort brings a lot of growth. And just for myself, so much was revealed to me. I've said that in one of Humble Dad's podcasts where we were discussing just like understanding where my marriage took a shift, because I got married very, very young. Both of us did not come from households with a husband and a wife. And for a very long time, my husband was the bad guy because everything that was happening on his end was more blatant to the eye, right? But then there was this one day where I was on the phone with a friend and I had this aha moment once all the emotions settled. And once I got my head out the clouds and looking at him and what he was doing wrong, where I noticed everything that I was doing to trigger him. Like, I literally was like, wait, okay. I could see where he told me to leave him alone. And I kept talking. So then he got upset, and then he said things that hurt me. So with that accountability, I then now know how to handle a circumstance with my husband, hear him better, understand his mannerisms, because I'm not so focused on what's happening to me, 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 me. If I would have not taken accountability and apologized to him, he probably wouldn't even, our relationship wouldn't get where it is now, or I wouldn't be where I am now as a spouse. I would still be sitting there playing the victim, or just like feeling however I was feeling because I didn't take accountability. So there's so much value in that.
Anyone else?
So I think that accountability should be in everybody's state of mind, even kids. Like I have kids and I'm, raising them, and I'm like, why did you do that? You got to be able to explain yourself, because if you don't know why you did it, then you're not going to be able to change. I'm already talking like that to my kids. And I'm like, with adults, I told my son the other day, I said, you know what? You act like one of my coworkers right now. And that person is an adult, and it's the saddest thing, it don't have an age. It's like they come out this way and they stay like that. So I think accountability just needs to be just like you brush your teeth. Like you're not going to be right all the time, just learn and then you mature. I think it's more of maturity. You just have to be mature with things and, take things with, okay, is this going to make me better or is it going to hurt me? You got to like think of those type of things instead of saying, oh, this person is bad. Why did they say that? Well, maybe because you did something that wasn't that great, and just look at it that way. It's not always someone trying to attack you every single moment. And if they are, don't be around them. You got to learn how to eliminate those type of people. So I think the power is just being more mature, but in a good way, not mature because of your age, but mature because of your wisdom.
To kind of build off of what everyone was saying, I do think it helps with growth. But another thing is that I also think that it helps build trust and transparency. So those are other areas that I think accountability helps. And I can also say too that sometimes I think people have grown up in situations where they have not seen that. And so sometimes it does take the person who I would say is more mature in that area to teach the other person how that looks as well. And understanding, me and AP had a conversation a while ago about accountability, and him and I was thinking of it differently. He was saying along the lines of accountability being more like taking ownership for what you did. And so that could mean, okay, I did that, I apologize. Whereas I was saying, I don't think accountability is just admitting what you did. I think is an actionable step that's supposed to come after it. And so I was like, so a lot of times we're in these spaces, and because we were talking about how men and women don't take accountability and men do. And I was saying what I've seen just being in this space is that when men say they take accountability, what they're saying is they're admitting that they're doing something, but it stops there. And for me, I think that's not the full essence of what accountability is admitting that you did or pointed out whatever it was that you did, but then trying to rectify the situation. You're going to make the change, take steps to fix it. And so I think it's that nuance part where when we're really looking at that aspect of accountability, how often do not just women, but people in general do that, because you do have people that could say I'm sorry easily, but what are the actionable steps they do they take that follows the apology? And so that was just something that I wanted to say, because there's, some people look at accountability differently, but on my end, I think there's a level of action that's supposed to follow the accountability.
That's good. Is everybody going that wanted to go? Okay. Last question. This is good. Have y'all learned anything about yourselves? Because y'all already knew this because y'all women of particular ages. Is that how they go? Okay, cool. All right. So the last question is, how can women hold each other accountable? How can women hold each other accountable? I seen some faces, so that means y'all got some thoughts. This is gonna be our last question, So but while y'all think, those that are out there, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel. We almost at a G on YouTube, so that's pretty dope. I've been pushing for a minute, and I mean we're trying to get more than that, but that's the goal, right? That's the start of a goal. So with that being said, I think we're at 950 right now. So the question is, how can women hold each other accountable? And whoever wants to go can go.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one. I'm trying to figure out,
that's the whole point of the show. That's the conversation.
You know why it's hard is because even though, let's say you have great answers, you're living through, the good things that you've been doing, and then you see somebody that's not in that space, but they can be. If you ever thought, when you start to tell someone or a lady something, it's very defensive. You can't tell me nothing. So just me personally, I don't have that much patience. If I come out of my space to come and tell you something, you need to respect what I'm saying, because I got kids. I got other stuff to do. Yeah. So it's kind of do I want to deal with it right now?
Or you run the risk of losing the relationship you have with that person.
I don't care about that. I don't care about that.
I was gonna say,
but
yeah.
As far as
let her finish it. Go ahead.
I'm like this because of things that has happened for me, but I don't care about that, honestly. Because I know that I was good, and it's just showing me their true colors. If they lose their friendship or whatever from something I said, then that means we shouldn't even be friends anyway. But as far as me wanting to give the energy for someone to come back and be super negative, that part sometimes I have a trouble with now. I'm gonna be honest. I don't always like to say stuff because I know it's gonna take a while. And yeah, sometimes I have time to take time, but then sometimes I'm I already know what you're about to do or say. I don't feel like it right now. It's I just let you sit in there, and maybe, one day when I feel you ready to listen and learn. So it's hard to hold women accountable. I'm just gonna be real. It's just hard to do.
I was going to say it's not definitely women, but I would just say people in general when you don't have relationship with them. So I think I think a lot of times the accountability piece with women, it happens behind closed doors. I think a lot of we're very private about presentation, right? So I think a lot of times when you have relationship with women, you are able to kind of, I would say, hold them accountable. And what I mean by that is I don't think you can make anybody be accountable, because you can only control yourself. But I do think women, if they have relationship, that they will, I mean, I know I do. I know I've had it done to me, that when something ain't right, if I've done something or they done something, they be like, now, girl, it starts off with that, now, girl, and the conversation is had. But I think what happens is, I think I'm gonna just say men, just because that's typically when we're in these spaces, is usually men and women. Men don't see these conversations. And so what they naturally think is because they don't see it, that it doesn't happen. But again, we are not going to go up to a stranger and try to hold a stranger accountable. That's not going to happen. But if we're in relationship with one another, then that's where the accountability happens, but it typically happens behind closed doors.
I've seen in some situations where you hold your friend accountable and then they go with their men and continue the same behavior. So a lot of times men don't feel like accountability is being had because they don't see a change in behavior. So it's an
My point
ongoing thing.
earlier,
Yeah.
the behavior and some
It has to
action
change.
has to
Yeah.
follow.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true, Kendra, what you just said. Like, you'll help someone and then you're like, oh, okay. And they'll go back to, their relationship doing the same damn thing or didn't even try. Or then you'll hear men say, well, I don't even think it's genuine because you told her to do it. So I'm like, if someone's trying, they're trying,
Yeah. So this is the biggest thing for me. And I don't know if it's just me being a life coach, so my head and like therapy, my head just functions in this. My mom likes to call it the flower unicorn phase. But no, she really thinks I live on another planet. But I don't. Realistically, how I view things and how I go about things with my friends, or even if it's a stranger, because I'm compassionate like that, I will meet you and I'm very empathetic. Um, when you are going to help someone or you feel the urge to hold someone accountable, whether it be somebody close to you, friend for 10 years, or a new friend or stranger, the goal, or even with your spouse, when you are going to have a conversation and address something, you have to remember, like Mistaken said, all you can control is what you are doing, meaning that it should not be done based on what the outcome might be. So if you are if you're holding a friend accountable, maybe this friend has a boyfriend, she keeps going back to the boyfriend, she's doing this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now, granted, there's a point where you notice, like, okay, you're not listening, I'm going to let that be. But initially, if it takes a couple conversations, it shouldn't be based on how the turnout of what that friend is going to do with your information. It shouldn't be based on that, why you're holding her accountable. It should be based on, I want to help you. I'm providing this information. Now, if they're disrespectful and they're rude and they don't receive well, now for you, you can take your next steps. But initially, everything should just be done with, I'm doing this because I care about you and because I don't feel like watching it and I know better. And I feel like you can do better and I see your potential. Now, what you do with that is your business. And that is that 10%. That's why we have a 10%, because the other 90%, 9 times out of 10, will not just go with what her loving friend or what her friend who she sees in is an example of what she wants to be is telling her. She'll go and repeat the same actions and fall into the same hole, and she'll have to learn for herself. But if you are giving someone advice or you are holding someone accountable, you have to understand you cannot control that person's response. So don't even go in thinking about she doesn't listen or whatever, because it might be that one conversation where she does, like it just might be. So just do it out of your heart.
That's what's up. Hey, Bethany, did you want to? Bethany
Oh.
said she had lost traction. We can come to you, Jamie, and then we can go to Bethany. Okay, that's fine.
Okay. All right. So for me, this is how I do it. It's probably why I don't have a lot of friends. And so like I have a standard of living that I uphold myself to, right? And if we're friends and you are not kind of with living that type of same standard, the Bible tells me that, evil communications corrupt good morals. I will have a conversation with you and say, hey, I don't think what you're doing is appropriate. Right? Like, let's talk about this. Why are you doing it? Like, do you think it's okay? Are you doing it because you're mad at him? Like, what are we doing? And depending on the answers, if I foresee that you're going to keep doing this and think it's okay, and then it's going to affect the way I look too, because to me, like, if we're friends, and your husband, you're doing something to your husband, he gonna think I might be encouraging that behavior, and I'm not encouraging that behavior. So it's a reflection of like, why would you be friends with somebody that thinks that that's okay? And so like I've had to cut off people because they do behaviors consistently that, you know, are single, and you're not single. You get what I'm saying? So like
Valid.
we've got to put out what we're wanting to get. And I don't want to be, if you think it's okay to cheat on your husband, if you can't be loyal to the man that's loyal to you, you can't be loyal to me. Period. Like if I don't, I mean, like, because that man's paying your bills. I'm not doing nothing for you but listening to you sometimes. So like I can't trust you. Like I just can't trust you. And so sometimes holding somebody accountable is cutting them off. It's if they lose enough friends, maybe they'll be like, maybe I don't need to do this no more. Maybe this is not the life that I should be living because
those type of people, they're gonna make excuses for their behavior over and over and over again. They're gonna say that you were jealous of them, like all of that.
I've seen
It's
it.
creating your
I've
own
had it.
boundaries. Yep. Creating your own boundaries. Like, you know, if you have a friend, every time y'all supposed to meet up, they're late consistently over and over and over again. You finally say, hey, I don't like the fact that you're late all the time. Like, I have to stop doing what I'm doing to come, you know, I could be doing something else and you don't call or anything like that. That's holding them accountable. Now that you've held them accountable, you have to create your boundary. So that means the next time y'all supposed to be meeting up, if they're not on time and they haven't called to say that they're running late, get your stuff and go home. You have to learn, we have to start teaching people how to treat us, and that teaches them, okay, well, shoot, like, the next time somebody called me to go somewhere, there's a possibility that they may stand me up or be like, they won't be there when I get there. So maybe I need to plan a little bit better to make sure I get there on time. We have to start, you know, creating a clear boundary and a clear line. Once you cross that line, you know, I'm not going to continue with my same behavior too, because at this point, you know, I've held you accountable. I've told you. So at this point, you know. So now you're disrespecting me and I'm good. You know, we can still talk. Hello, where you at? I went home. You know, you didn't call me. Like my time is valuable too. But that's just an example of things that we can do to hold our friends accountable, hold other women accountable when they do something. You explain to them, you communicate to them what you don't like. They continue to do it. I'm good. You cross the boundary with me.
That's what's
I
up.
agree with
Hey,
you.
we're gonna let Bethany have this the last part, and then we'll be out this piece in a minute. Go ahead.
Alicia didn't get to speak.
Oh, she didn't. I apologize. Okay, we'll get Alicia. Go ahead, Bethany. Then we'll get Alicia.
Oh, okay. Are y'all getting feedback? I'm in my car.
Yeah, she gave me a little feedback.
Is it bad or
Make it sound like birds.
that's my kid's tablet? Y'all turn that down. Okay, so with the accountability of women, how in my
Yes, how
friend
can
group,
women hold each other accountable?
I think my friend group from college and now as grown-ups, we've done a very good job at that. Just because if someone's activities or appearance or whatever was not appropriate or just something that we didn't agree with, we will pull them aside and tell them. We've had interventions for a couple of the girls in the group. And that's because you're a reflection of all of us. Because people know us and this, that, and it's like, okay, well, you know, that's not gonna fly in this group. For one example, we had a girlfriend of ours, had her boyfriend and everything, great guy. He had to come to us and say, hey, can y'all talk to y'all girl? Because I'm not rocking with this. This is not acceptable. And we did. And you know, they're not married, nothing like that. It didn't work out. But at the end of the day, you know, we've sat girlfriends down and said, look, what's going on? What's going on in life? Why are you doing this, and this? Why are you acting out? And I think you can only hold people accountable that you know. It's hard to hold a stranger accountable. Why would they respect you, listen to you when you're gone 2 minutes later? You have no value in their life, and no say so. I think we can do it graciously and in a loving manner. But like some of the ladies said, after so many times, I'm just not gonna rock with you anymore. You have to know that you're gonna lose a loyal friend over your actions and over your lifestyle choices. And they have to live with that. And if they value your friendship, maybe they will take what you say into consideration. But if they don't, then that just lets you know where you stand with that friend. And I think we have to be okay with that. And the same thing goes in the family dynamic. The aunties, the moms, the sisters, whatever family members, you have to be able to put them in check in a loving manner. But after so many times, it's like, well, they don't want to get it. And that's okay if they want to get it because that's their life to live. But I'm not going to let you bring me down with you with your choices.
That's good. That's good. I appreciate that. Hey, Alicia, on you.
I think I'm like Jamie. It's probably why I don't have many friends. Anytime that I was in a situation to hold, especially another woman that I felt was a friend or close friend or, cousin or whatever, accountable, it just never really worked out well. Even if I felt that they were wrong about something, I presented to them, or maybe I'm in a situation, like I've been in a situation where I had two very good friends that were dating the same man. But one of them was actually living with the man. She had kids with the man. And the other friend was like, well, I'm going to keep seeing them because they're not married. That's not cool. You know what I mean? So, and then the friend that was with the guy.
Are you okay, Tamia?
The friend that was with the guy found out about, so then now none of us are friends, so it's like you do have to have a certain level of relationship with a woman. But even if you do, like we have been friends since like elementary school, and it still just ended bad because I'm like, I'm not getting ready to sit by and watch this. So I don't know. If I'm ever in a position like that to, hold somebody accountable for something, or where I feel, pressed or obligated to do so, then I will, regardless of if the friendship ends or not. But that's something that I think has just been a challenge for me personally.
Wow.
And it's okay to pick a side. That's where loyalty kick in. Like it's okay to pick a side. If I've already come to you and told you I see you doing wrong to another one of my friends, like I'm gonna pick a side, and the side's not gonna be you.
But in that situation, I didn't even get to pick the side because once the friend found out that I knew, even though I had been saying, you need to leave her alone. This is not cool. They live together. She was mad at me. It was like, oh, you knew. So I'm like, well, I can't win here because I wasn't going to go tell her.
Well, how did you take accountability for when your friend was hurt by your lack of action?
What you mean, my lack of action?
You didn't tell her.
You didn't tell her, sis.
You knew, but you didn't tell her.
Are y'all trying to hold her accountable?
Yes.
Tell her. I don't think.
I want us to have a relationship still.
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I think she did the right thing.
Really?
I think
elementary school friends.
This is actually me. My thing is, I don't think it's her place to be in other people's relationship. I think she brought it to the person who needed the correction. So the girl that was aware that brought it to her, she's, listen, you were not right. You should not be doing this. I'm not effing with you. Whatever she said to hold that person accountable. At that point, she did her due diligence. It wasn't her responsibility to get in the other girl's.
There's more.
Wait, quick question though.
You tell her, I'm gonna tell her.
Quick question, like
I ain't gonna have my friend out here looking dumb with this man and you. You tell her, I'm gonna tell her. Because you put me in this, I know about it. I'm not gonna act like I don't know. I'm getting involved, and that's what it is. I'm not gonna sit here and have you sleeping with my other friend's man. I know about it, and I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm
But-
gonna
this is a
tell.
point.
I'm
who's
gonna
the
tell. I'm gonna
accountable
tell.
partner?
Everybody gonna have to be mad.
But listen, this is the thing. Who's the accountable partner? He's accountable to her because he's the one with the baby living with her. So
Mhm.
even if she says something to that friend, is that friend gonna leave him?
No, but
And
that's
my
not the point. That's not
that's
the
not the thing to
point.
do that.
No.
That
One at
okay.
a time. Listen, y'all
One
giving
one
me.
time.
Listen, I didn't do this, so
One
this is on
moment. One
y'all.
moment. Okay, so granted. Like I get it. I get why you didn't like. I get the principle, right? The principle is it's not my relationship. She's not gonna leave him. It's not my household. It's not my bed. But I feel like, yes, say something to the other friend because she's stepping in. Okay, great. I know this already happened, but just like example, this is a good scenario. I'm saying like there's a point where, okay, I told that other friend, like I agree with Kendra. Like I told that other friend's not doing nothing, and there are children, there's a home, there's a household, there's an image, and my heart, I can't sit there and look at you and know that this would shatter your heart. So my next step would have even been like, I think you need to have a conversation with. So not tell your business, right? Which is still maybe for some overstepping or not my dandelions to happen. But I would literally be like, I think you should have a conversation with girl A about something that you don't know. I'm not going to tell you what the conversation withholds. I'm going to give girl A her opportunity to talk to you, but there is something that I am uncomfortable with because I love you, and you and her need to talk about that because I can't. But I get why, that's a hard situation. So
It's a
it's
hard,
easier said
hard
than done.
pill.
It's easier said than
Digest
done.
for
So I'm
sure.
not coming for you, sis. But that's also really hard to hold. So I can get why your friend was like, this is big. Like, this is huge.
Well,
yeah.
y'all already said that women can't really be held accountable. So
Humble Dad, let me ask you, as a man,
you always want to ask me a question.
because
we need to know.
Because I noticed that men move differently, and I think I know the
That's
answer,
a
but I just
fact.
want to see if I'm right.
All right,
If
bet.
this was a situation between you and like two of your homeboys, and you were Alicia in a situation, you knew one of your homeboys was messing with your other homeboy girl or
Yeah.
baby mama.
Yeah.
How would men typically handle that situation?
Well, every man ain't like me, first and foremost. But the people that run with me, I would say that I'm checking the person that's doing it, and I'm letting the other person know if he don't let him know. You know what I'm saying? It's because there's an integrity factor there. Like if the dude that's doing it, I guess the person that's in violation, so to speak, if he's in violation, he comes and tells me, it's over with. Like it's very hard for you to be my friend and you
I
lack
would move
integrity
in that direction. I would cut ties.
Yeah, but I'm gonna check him 1st.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna check him first, and check just means we're gonna have this conversation. You know what I mean? It ain't gonna come to no fisticuffs and everything like that. It's just a matter of that we're gonna talk man to man, and then the guy that doesn't know, if the conversation is not had by the violator, then I'm gonna have the conversation with him, right? Because I feel obligated to both friendships. That's just how I roll. I'm a loyal dude, and I've lost friends from being loyal too. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. So that's a really dope question. You know what I'm saying? And that scenario was not a scenario. That scenario that actually happened. You know what I'm saying? What you talk about, Miss Alicia. But this has been dope. What y'all think? Was y'all okay with this? Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna get out of here. But before we get out, I always want to let people rep where they're coming from. So if you could, in like 30 seconds or less, tell us one thing that you got from the conversation, and where can people find you? And we're gonna go clockwise. We're gonna go with you, Miss Kendra, right? Where can people find you, and what's one takeaway you got from the conversation?
Okay, so I want to get my TikTok because I'm trying to build the number. So My TikTok is Kendra Siobhan, the same way that it's spelled there. It pretty much has everything that I'm doing in my life, my business, my family, all of that in one place. And the takeaways that I got from this is that we all are seeing the same things. You know, women don't hold each other accountable and have a hard time holding ourselves accountable. And I say ourselves because I've had a hard time with it too, so I understand. But I think that we're all on the same page, and it's like once you know better, you do better. So we're gonna go out into our cities and friendships and relationships and start holding people accountable and losing friends one at a time.
Oh, you mistaken.
I guess our overall theme is that we're all work in progress, and that the focus needs to be on the progress part. And with that progress is going to come acknowledgement and accountability of knowing self, things that are preventing you from growing. So that was one of the things that I got from that.
Where can they find you?
I'm on a Chic Critique on Fridays around, and that's why I'm saying around, because they never start on time. So, like
No accountability.
10:30. Now I can't be accountable for that because I don't control
I know.
that.
I know.
Around 10:30, maybe 10:45.
What? And that's Eastern time.
Yes, Eastern Standard Time. Yes,
for sure. On you, Miss Alicia.
I got from today or I'm not gonna say I got from today, but it's just super, super, super important to be self-aware, because in order to take accountability, you have to be aware of what you need to be accountable for. And if it's pointed out, especially in relationship with your spouse, it's like you might have to do some self-reflection. If you go to making excuses first, no, I need to listen to I need to listen to what they're saying. And then, like Miss Taken said, make some changes. Like some action should follow that. And with that comes growth. So those are key things. And you can find me and my husband. We have an unofficial podcast, The Common Sense Couple, but we put out a lot of content on Instagram, The Common Sense Couple, YouTube, TikTok, and we're on Facebook. So
that's a bet. Thank you for being here, Miss Lady Di.
It's always fun coming to Humble Dad's show. I like the questions and everything, the organization.
Thank you.
So you can find me at Lady Di DTM. DTM stands for Dating to Marriage. Me and my husband, we have live shows where we hold people accountable, couples or people looking to get married. But you can follow me there on all platforms. And what I got from this show is that I need to make sure that I am always holding women accountable, not just on social media, but in person. And we see how that goes.
That's a bet. Appreciate you. Miss Jamie, on you.
Okay, so I want to thank you guys. This was actually great. I wasn't expecting to enjoy this as much. And so what I got from this today is that there are real women out here who are living life and growing and taking accountability and changing and trying to make a change within our community. And that's beautiful. Like, that's exciting to me, because sometimes you do it and you're like, am I the only one? Because you talk to so many people that aren't doing it, it's kind of discouraging, right? So I wanted to say that. And I am on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, all at Jamie Radiance Moorhead 7. And I am a Christian life coach. So I take care of the restoring the mind, body, and spirit. So that is my core business. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, for sure. Tamia, on you.
This was a great show. I like this. Usually, I'm outnumbered by the guys. So this is nice. This is pleasant. I took from this conversation today that we need more environments like this, ladies, where even women who aren't seeing it this way have somewhere to come to, like Jamie was saying, like just see like I'm not by myself, or this is real. Like this isn't some perfect kind of mindset that I'm supposed to have, or I'm not overthinking it. Like it's a real thing. You can find me on TikTok and on Instagram at the Coach Mia. And on YouTube at Tamia Luster. And I am also a certified coach. I coach women in transitional coaching. So that could be anything from any change happening in your life. I will support you through that. Thank you for having me, Humble Dad.
Absolutely. Bethany, that's on you.
Thank you for having me, Humble Dad. I really appreciate the invite. Love your platform. I've been rocking with you since you've been on the Lapeef show, and yeah, you're doing amazing work. It's been lovely meeting you ladies and participating in this. This is needed. I think it's a great opportunity for women of all different backgrounds to come here, and we're not venting, but we can agree to disagree on certain topics and just what's going on in life. And these platforms are necessary, so I appreciate that. I am not a content creator as of yet. I'm a wife of one, mom of two, and we run businesses. So I don't have the time right now, but I love these marriage talks and family talks. I think that's great. I can be found only on Instagram at Bethany_Elena_. So don't post much, but I can repost other people's content, and I'm a like and subscribe to the channels I enjoy.
Please do. Please do. This was dope. I appreciate the conversation as always. And shout out to Miss Kendra, Miss Kiki for even giving me the idea to do this. And it was easy to find once you look and you know what you're looking for, you can find it. So what I mean by that is that when she told me that to get women, like I knew I already had the women in mind to ask. And I thank you all for being available. I appreciate that. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, we out here. Deuces.
The boy is dangerous. Bad feeling about this. You don't seem to understand something.
The thing that I like most about being a dad is that I see that I'm about to impact the world.